Hey everyone, I'm Adam, and I'll tell you about my Ludum Dare 48 experience. So the jam took place recently. Technically, I have taken part in Ludum Dare 43 as part of a team, though my contribution was very minimal back then. So basically this is my first Ludum Dare. So I woke up on Saturday morning and looked at what the theme was. Deeper and deeper. Interestingly enough, I made a game in the past that would fit this theme. That is, The Miner, though making this took a lot longer than 3 days. Since I've already made a game like this, and I also figured that a lot of people would be making that kind of game, I wanted to try something different. I opened Paint Tool Site 2, started writing down ideas and trying to brainstorm. I've also been wanting to try making a 2D Hollow Knight-esque combat system, so I figured I'd go in this direction. In the end I came up with a game where you're constantly falling and you have to fight enemies in midair, kinda like Devil May Cry. I created a new Unity project, URP, because that's what I do. Maybe it's stupid, but I do it anyway. Had a bit of trouble with the time map system, so I had to look up Brakis to freshen up my memory. Turns out the problem was the resolution of my placeholder sprite. Thought it was 16 by 16, but apparently not. So after all this I started throwing together a test map. Placed a placeholder sprite for the player and added rigid body and collider to it. I created an input master script so that I can keep the input stuff nicely in one place. Normally I would use a C# wrapper class for the input system, but this time I thought, this would be a good opportunity to try doing something weird. But in the end I just went back to the wrapper class solution. Guess I should just go and watch more tutorials about this in the future. Another thing I wanted to experiment with in this project is some physics-based movement, so I tried using add force and changing the rigid body's linear drag to slow the player down when there's no input. Also added coyote time to make the experience more enjoyable. I also added wall jumping and wall sliding. Luckily, I've already worked on these kinds of mechanics in a pixel art sci-fi Metroidvania game that I was working on last year but never actually finished. So let me know if this looks interesting to you. Maybe I can make some videos about it in the future. Normally I have an arbitrary obsession with doing everything myself, but this time I decided to try using Cinemachine cameras for the first time. And once again, I had to pull up a Brakis tutorial to remind myself on how to use these. I wasn't sure what the main character of this game would be. Should it be some random knight dude? Should I just take the miner character from my game, The Miner? Should it be pixel art or some cartoony cel-shaded style? I ended up making a pixel art ninja. Wasn't sure if it would actually fit the theme. While making it I also felt like it was pretty sculpted, but, spoiler alert, I feel like it turned out looking alright when in motion. When it came to animating the ninja run, my experience with my sci-fi project came in handy. After having drawn the frames, I went and set up the animations in Unity. For playing sound effects I could have just imported my Sound Manager script from my previous projects, but I decided to write the whole thing from scratch. It's based on the Sound Manager script that Brakis showed off in his tutorial, though I've tweaked it a bit to make it easier to play random variations of sounds. For the combat system, I basically used the same method that Rakis showed off in his melee combat tutorial. Using the sound manager, I implemented attack sound effects and such, which were taken from the Ultimate Sound Effects bundle. Now it was about time I made an enemy that the player can kill. I quickly wrote up an enemy stats script. I made some blood particles with, you guessed it, Unity's particle system. Now that we can slash at white squares, it was time to go and animate a downward slash attack. Cause otherwise how would people tell me that this game is a Hollow Knight ripoff? I imported an outline shader from an older project of mine, but this also required a bunch of reorganization from me because of how trashy my sprite sheet was. I decided to add coin pickups to the game, not for any logical reason, just to have something extra satisfying in the game. Created some shiny particles for when they pick up the coins. I probably could have found some coin sounds in the Ultimate Sound Effects bundle, but this one sound effect I decided to record myself with a keychain, and also imported the Lintwin library so that I can add some pulsing animation to the UI when picking up the coins. I made an even juicier blood splatter effect with a satisfying sound for when the enemies die. I wasn't sure what to do with the enemies' corpses, so I just made them shrink before they are destroyed. Figured it would be kinda funny if you could just push them around, but in retrospect and based on the feedback I got, not disabling collisions between the player and the corpses was a mistake. I started drawing the enemies. The demonic eye may have actually been inspired by something I saw Wimlang drawing in his stream. Then I decided to also make some goblins. So there you go. I drew some dust particles that I can use for a double jump effect, and I continued making attack animations for the ninja. I also drew a dirt tile map. Then I replaced the placeholder tiles in the game. I started building the main menu scene using the tile maps and the enemy sprites. Then I used the Lintwin library to gently pan the camera up and down. I started tweaking the level to make way for a tutorial section at the beginning. I wanted to place my tutorial messages on a word canvas, and originally I was gonna have icons for the buttons, but in the end I just used text messages. On the last day I opened up Reaper to try making some ninja music. I picked the Shamisen VST from Expand 2, and since I don't actually know how to make ninja music, I ended up taking some inspiration from metal. I basically only made one riff for the song, so it might get repetitive quick. But anyway, for the main menu I tried to make some ambient music with a shakuhachi. I made some parallaxing mountains in the background by creating a new tile map and moving it backwards on the z-axis. For the end of the game I thought it would be funny to have an instant noodle vending machine. And that was the game. But since I really took my sweet time making this devlog, I can now show you the ratings for the gem. Weirdly, my highest place was in the humor category, which I wasn't even sure if I should have opted out or not. But I guess that McNoodle's vending machine really did its job. My highest score was in the graphics category, which I am happy about. So that's the end. Thanks for watching my first devlog. Editing this turned out to be quite a lot of work after all. But you can subscribe for possibly more content like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoyed. Follow my Twitter for occasional work in progress gifs, and there will be a link to my games in the description if you feel like trying them out. So, thanks for watching and see you next time. Thought it was 16 by 16, but apparently not.